Hey there, you sexy beasts. This is Arielle Devito with Be More Than Fit Personal Training, bringing you your weekly health and fitness life hack. This week, we're talking motivation, and I can't think of any better way to motivate myself to move than a clean, uncluttered space. My home gym, by which I mean the corner in my kitchen, it may not be big or elaborate, but I know I can't exercise in a cluttered space. Having a cluttered space is exhausting and distracting. I feel like I have to clean before I work out, and by the time I'm done cleaning, I have zero energy left for my exercise. My best tip for this is a clean 15. Take 15 minutes before you hit the hay to clean up or set up your workout space and write out your workout plan for the upcoming day. You will feel 10 times more ready to show up for that workout, I guarantee it. For more tips or to speak with a trainer, contact us through our website at www.bemorethanfit.com or on our Facebook page, Be More Than Fit Studio. This is Arielle reminding you that you deserve the best quality of life available to you, and it's yours for the taking.
All right, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Killeleagh Show. I have an amazing guest here with me today, Krista Lockwood from Toledo, Ohio right now. But I have followed this woman all over the U.S. because she's absolutely amazing, runs a group called Motherhood Simplified. You can actually go to her website, motherhoodsimplified.com, and check out so many things that she puts out there in the universe. But the reason why I adore her is because from the moment I met her, I could sense the passion and the conviction around the things that she does. And Krista, you are just an embodied, what is the word I'm looking for? You're the embodiment of your business, right? It's like your business was born out of the very need you had in your own life. So let's talk about that, because I know that there's a lot of people listening who could use more simplicity in their lives, who could do a little decluttering. We could share the challenge that you've got going on when we wrap up today. And I just want them to really hear your story and what it's been all about for you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, I feel the same way about you. We met on the internet, and sometimes, like you just see people on the internet and you're like, that one, like I need to know her. That's how I felt about you. And here we are.
It's like when we were kids and you're at the playground and you see someone you want to play with and you just go play with them, right? Like learning how to do that as adults. But anyways, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. But yes. So thank you for having me. And yes, I teach moms how to declutter their homes. And so I know there's so many people that talk about like decluttering and simplifying and minimalism and all of these things. And I didn't know it was a thing when I did it. So in 2013, my husband and I moved from Alaska to Florida, the only place we had ever called home. And we didn't have enough money to like bring all of our stuff with us because it's expensive to ship your stuff like from corner to corner of a continent. And it didn't make sense to keep it in a storage unit and ship it to us whenever we saved up enough money. So we got rid of literally everything other than what fit into our suitcases when we flew to Florida and started over. And at that time we had 3 kids, and overnight, like my home life changed. And I thought that it was because we were living near the beach and it was super sunny all the time. You go from like cold, dark Alaska where you hibernate for 9 months out of the year, and then to Florida where it's like sunny all the time. We can literally like walk or ride our bikes to the beach. And I thought that's what made my motherhood change.
Of course.
I was like, it's the beach. Like, this is great. And before we got to Florida, I was the owner of a preschool. I was a mom of 3 small kids who were 2, 4, and 7. And my life was just a series of like cleaning up messes all the time, trying to catch up on laundry, trying to catch up on dishes, trying to get their rooms and their toys organized, going to work for, I was a sole proprietor. So I was working 10-hour days, caring for other people's children, coming home, trying to do it all again. And I had a unique kind of situation where I was like caring for 6 or 7 kids all day and then going home to just my 3. But when you're caring for 6 or 7 kids, even in my preschool, all I was doing was like, because my preschool was cluttered too, um, catching up on messes and toys and organizing and putting things back in bins and trying to label everything. And it was just exhausting because it was just this never ending cycle of like getting the dishes done and then turning around to see a toy explosion behind me. Or, yeah. Or like, yeah, I know this. Or like getting the toys organized, spending a weekend like getting the bedrooms cleaned and organized, and all the toys back where they go. And then waking up the next morning and it all come undone because the kids were waking up. They woke up and played with it. And it was just exhausting. Mm-hmm. And so I got to Florida and that didn't happen anymore. We have brought one suitcase of clothes and then one suitcase of toys for our kids. And I don't recommend that. I don't think that your goal should be like have one suitcase of toys, but that's what we did. And I got to see very dramatically and very clearly how that made my life easier. I didn't have all the messes to clean up. Like there just was no mess to be made. And so I didn't know that decluttering was a thing. I didn't know that it would change my life like that. I didn't know that it would make my house a place of rest, right? I didn't know that it would make it so that I could go to work and spend all day teaching, because I actually had 2 teaching jobs, would come home and would just rest and be able to go to bed with a clean house and put the kids to bed and then hang out with my husband with nothing to do, like nothing to catch up on. And then my weekends were that. I literally had 2 full days of like, what do we want to do? Do we want to go to the beach? Do we want to go to the zoo? I didn't have to worry about falling behind on things. Everything was taken care of. So I thought it was Florida. I thought it was the sun. Yeah. And then in 2017, I got pregnant with my now 3-year-old and was a part of a due date group. And everyone was like complaining and not complaining, and that they're like, like, oh, poor me. It was just like, they had this common problem of their homes being way too much to manage. Always making posts about like, how do you keep up with the toys? How do you keep up with the dishes? How do you keep up with the laundry? And we did this thing called house tours, and I showed them my house and they were like, okay, hold on a second. Like, how do you have 3 kids and a baby and a dog and your kitchen is clean and your floors are clean and their bedrooms, like your kids are cleaning up? Like, how are you doing this? And it was like then that it started to click for me that like, Florida didn't change my life. The stuff I had in my home changed and it made everything easy. And so from that point, I was, I had gotten to know these ladies very well. I was like, do you want me to show you guys how to do this? Like, there is no secret organization. There is no secret routine or habit or cleaning schedule. It's just getting rid of the pointless stuff in your home. And so I started running like free challenges for them and opened up a group. And I did know in the back of my head that it would be a business that I did, and it would be like the thing that I do. But I really just enjoyed it and like leaned into them and got to know like their frustrations and their struggles and gave them solutions and let it grow from there. And it works.
I love it. And it does work. And I love in the group, which anyone can go find, which is Motherhood Simplified, the group, listening to people's stories of like how it impacts their lives, like when you're talking about this whole thing of, is it Florida? And then realizing it's really the stuff. It's so true, because even with our kids, like I noticed with my 4-year-old, the more he gets, the more distracted he becomes. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it's like, now he's got to attend to all of these things. So, we're working on that now, and it's tough he's living in 2 separate homes. He's with me most of the time, but he also goes to dad's. And so people just buy him things for the holidays, right? It's like just shoveling these things. And I see these memes online about like parents who just like get out a shovel and they're like shoveling up the toys, right? That's how I feel some days. But slowly and surely, when I ask him to start to release some of the things that he doesn't play with anymore, at first it's resistance, but then when he does it, there is this like lightness that comes from it. And I think so many more moms need to experience that. So can you talk a little bit about, I know you've got a challenge going on right now, and it has to do with something that I love, and I actually teach in my network marketing business, believe it or not, right? So when we talk to people who work with us on our team, we're often sharing not only systems and strategies that are for our business, but also for our homes, because it's such a huge part of our lives. And especially in the year that has been 2020, teaching people how to live that like integrated approach of taking these systems and strategies and applying them across the board has been really helpful. And the nightly reset is like a big thing, right? So can you talk about that and the challenge that's going on right now?
Yes. So the nightly reset is, it's just like all you do. Okay. How do I explain this? I never explain it well because I think people overcomplicate it. It's really, really simple. All you're doing is like getting to the end of your day and doing one or two things that will make it so much easier when you wake up in the morning. And sometimes people are like, oh, the nightly reset means I have to like clean my whole entire house and get everything like done and sweep and mop and vacuum. And that's not the point.
Right.
That's not what we're trying to do here. But like for me, it's doing the dishes because my kids are going to wake up starving. And there's nothing worse than waking up to kids who are like demanding food and I have to do the dishes from the night before.
Right.
So I do the dishes and I clean off the counters and then I have the kids put all of their toys and stuff, like all the little things that like get out throughout the day. They just go away. They get put away so that we're kind of set to zero so that when we wake up in the morning, it's easy. It's not that I'm like mopping. I don't do that. I just do that as needed. But it's just, more than anything, it's not so that your house looks clean, right? It's so that you wake up with ease. Like you wake up to a house that is supporting you rather than working against you. That's all it is.
Yeah. And that feeling is so powerful. Yes. Right? So I actually do those same two things.
Yeah.
It's the toys. So we set a timer and it's 15 minutes. And I make it a game with Jack now because he'll do the toys with me, right? And so that takes up like half the amount of time. And then the other half of the time I'm in the kitchen. And if there's stuff that's in the dishwasher, he now knows how to put things away. F4, yes, they can do it, right? And for the same reason, even with one child, if he wakes up and he's starving and he wants pancakes, I want to be able to make him pancakes in the morning. And I don't want a sink full of dirty dishes in order to start my day. And I remember the first time I had the reality check about all the toys and waking up in the morning when the toys were just left the way they were because I had like a night that I didn't feel well or something and we just went to sleep. And I got up in the morning and I tripped over several toys and then stepped on a Lego.
Yeah.
That's not how you want to start your day. And it sounds so benign, but it's really like, it's a mindset thing. If I start my day like that, I don't feel like I'm off to a good start. So
no. It's like you almost start your day off behind. Like you start your day off behind. Like you wake up to a big long to-do list, which is always going to be there. And then to make it worse, you're stepping on Legos or like it just like amplifies it. It makes it so much harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your group, what would you say are some of the more like drastic testimonies that you've received over like the last year? Because I know you've had a lot.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you asked this because I was like, I kind of want to just tell about like what has happened for other people, right? I think a lot of times when I share my story, people assume that like, oh, it was a fluke, right? Or, oh, it worked for you, but it won't work for me. But what I've seen is like thousands of moms having the same experiences of like, these are the most common ones. They have so much time to themselves that they're actually bored and they don't know what to do. Right? I'm not kidding. They're like, especially the moms who are in my course, it comes up a lot and I kind of give them a warning of like, you're going to do this and get this done. And then you're going to feel kind of like naked and exposed. And you're going to be like, what do I do with myself? And it's so funny to watch it happen again and again, because they'll be like, my house is done and I feel like I want to go buy more stuff so that I can declutter more stuff. And I'm like, don't do that because, that defeats the whole purpose.
Right.
Maybe you learn how to invest your money, right? If you're feeling like now you have all this time and space and you want to spend money on things, go learn how to invest it, right? Or go start a business or get into therapy or volunteer at your kid's school or actually do the crafts that you wanted to do all the time, learn or spend time cooking. Like there's one mom who just posted recently. She was like, she got through the course and she was like, I never knew that meme that goes around that says like something like you can choose, it's a triangle. And it's like you can choose happy kids, a clean house, and a sane mom. And it was like, you can only pick two. And she was like, I had no idea that I could actually have all three, that my house would be clean, I could be happy, and the kids could be happy. Like I had no idea that I could literally do it all. And she's really into like health, like I think she does like follows like the paleo diet or whatever. So she's always cooking. And she's like, I never thought I would be the type of person who could make all of this food from scratch for my 4 kids and have the house clean and actually showered every day this week. Right. Yeah. So that's one of the things is like the amount of time that you get back, time and energy to actually like just live your life, which is kind of something that you and I talked about before we started recording was slowing down. Like it shouldn't be normal to be exhausted all the time or to be running yourself into the ground. Like I don't think that should be normal. It's not healthy. Like physically it's not healthy. It's not at all. And so the time and energy is the biggest one. And the other one that's so surprising to me, because it was true for me, and I was like, I wonder if this is going to be true for other people, is their finances. Like their finances improve. Like there's a mom in my group who she went through the course and they're saving so much money on like their mindless spending that they used to do all the time. Like spending money on eating out and all of these things that they're paying double on their mortgage every month.
I love
that's how much money they're saving.
I have goosebumps right now.
Yeah. They paid double on their mortgage. There's another mom who paid off $30,000 of her student loan debt in a year, just from like selling her clutter and then stopping the overconsumption. Because that's one thing that I talk about a lot of times is like there's 2 pieces to it, getting the excess out and then stopping the inflow. But yeah, improvements in their finances is one of the biggest things too, is like they're like, I have a savings account now. Like I have savings. I've paid off my debt. Like who am I? And I think that's really cool. Cause then it gives you like, that's when the real changes happen. I think, if you can start a business, not everybody has to or wants to start a business, but even if you're just like saving for retirement or starting whatever is important to you as a family, like maybe it's college funds, maybe it's investments, maybe it's, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's starting a business, right?
Yeah. There's so much potential there. And I love it. Those are 2 areas that how many people out there use the excuse of something they want to do in life by saying they don't have the time and the energy or the money. Right. So here's something that is really simple that you can do that becomes a lifestyle and offers you the opportunity to do that. And I love what you talked about in terms of like, it shouldn't be normal that we're like so exhausted all the time. And it also shouldn't be normal that we're so busy, right? I think 2020 gave a lot of us the opportunity to pause, if you will. And that badge of busyness, like just got torn off of a lot of people, right? And so if you're watching this, if you're listening and you're still wearing that badge of busy, like feeling like busy is actually something to be proud of, think about that for a second, right?
Take that badge.
Take the badge off, because typically that badge is like affecting health. It's affecting relationships. It's affecting your like just total overall well-being. And I know that from personal experience. So one of the things I also wanted to share, Krista, is, for our viewers and listeners who don't know the show very well, I've been doing this for about 4 years now. And when I first started, this was an opportunity for me to just put more good news out into the world. But more recently, it's evolved into a space where I get to share with the world, people who are living with passion and purpose, but also are really into values-driven living and values-driven businesses. And that was another thing that I love about you is you live in the intersection of that place, right? Because when you have all this extra time, all this extra energy, and you have these new resources, you truly get to look within and begin to understand like that inner compass that does guide your life. What do I want to do? Maybe it is crafts, maybe it's write a book, maybe it's start a business, whatever it might be. Those values get to come to the forefront. If your value is spending more time with your family, you get more time with your family. There's so much that comes out of that. But the fact that you are this embodiment of that is so helpful because people have access to it and they get to see you and they get to experience you up close and personal, on your videos, sharing it all. And I love that. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And another thing that I just kind of wanted to touch on too, that I think is a huge benefit for moms is like just this idea that you can have whatever you want to have, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of decluttering is getting rid of all of the stuff that you don't actually want, right? You don't actually want to spend your time cleaning up these messes all the time. Or maybe this was a big one for me, like, especially as a former teacher mom, like having all of these crafts and stuff around that I never wanted to do. Like, I just did not want to do them, but I had them around me and that consumed my time. It consumed my mental energy. It was like this unspoken pressure I was putting on myself to like be this crafty mom who like makes things on the weekends. And that's just not me. I show up for my kids in other ways, and decluttering lets me actually show up for them in the way that I'm good at showing up at, right? Like I can sit on the floor and like play magnets with them or Legos with them, or even my older kids, like I can play Roblox with them and I can do those kinds of things with them. And it just has like released all of that pressure off of me to like try and be something that I don't actually want to be. And a huge part of decluttering is so that I can have that space, especially for my kids. And especially in 2020, when like, we've had to make huge decisions for our kids. Like, are they going to school? We just moved across the country again. So if we don't send them to school, how are they going to have friends when we can't meet friends in a pandemic? Like, and just, I think that was really huge for me in 2020 was like gratitude for that space to not be overwhelmed by pointless messes in my home, which clouds your ability to really tune into your kids, which is one of the things that I should probably talk about more with my group is like declutter so you can be in tune with your kids. Because when you are like emotionally cluttered or mentally cluttered by all of this stuff around you, like shouting at you essentially, like clean me up, organize me, spend time on me, put me away, right? Like figure out how to get a schedule around me. And it's like stuff that's mental and emotional clarity that you're missing to tune into your kids and all of your other relationships that are important with you, right? If you're married, your spouse, yourself, right? You're like so consumed by all this stuff around you. You also can't tune into yourself and figure out like, what do I need right now?
Right.
Probably a nap, right? Or whatever it is, some water, I don't know, yoga, anything.
Yeah. No, it's funny that you're saying this because I keep glancing down and I'm like, there's a pile on my desk that needs to get recycled.
Yeah.
These are stickers that come with my planner that you're supposed to use to illustrate like when you're going to be doing these different activities. Mm-hmm. And all that happens to me when I see those stickers is I'm like, God, I should be doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I don't want to do that. I'm perfectly fine with the visual cues that I have in my planner right now. So I can give myself permission to like,
just let Jack use them. Yeah. Just let Jack put them on some paper and then throw it away.
Yeah. In fact, I'm not even going to let him use them. I'm just going to throw them away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I would love to touch on too, because I know this comes up in your groups as well.
Yeah.
It's like weighing out the ability to make use of some of these things, right? Because I think a lot of people hold on to stuff if they don't know how to make use of it. So some things you can donate, even that became really challenging in 2020, donating things. There's a lot of different things that you can take to different recycling centers, et cetera. And so the question becomes like throwing things out. And in my world, the reality is like, once you stop, it's that two-part thing you talked about. Like once you organize and then you stop the inflow of the things that you don't need, waste goes down altogether, but there is a period of time when like you're going to be getting rid of some things and you have to accept that that's actually a beneficial thing for your household to avoid years and years of additional waste. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yes. Yes. So this is, sorry. I have a whole podcast episode on this, and I'll give you the short version, but what you said is exactly true. So we get so caught up in like not being wasteful and like making a purpose out of everything and repurposing things and upcycling things, which is great. We should do that when we can. But the reality is that in the United States and other industrialized countries is that we have way too much stuff to ever possibly use, reuse, or repurpose. Like we all just have way too much stuff. We can't possibly use it all. And I saw that very clearly in our house when we decluttered our stuff because we got rid of everything down to what fit into our suitcases. And here's the thing, like we all have the same kinds of clutter. Like we all have the same kinds of jars, the same kinds of like clothing, the same kinds of things that we are, Pinterest tells us like, oh, just turn it into something else, right? We have too much, right? We simply just have too much. And then we feel guilty because we don't want to be the ones to throw it into the landfill. But this is the other reality. And you can kind of go down this rabbit hole if you want, is that when you donate things, oftentimes that donation center is just the middleman to the landfill because we overconsume. And there is no solution for overconsumption. There just is not. And so sometimes you just, and I sometimes get like heat for this, but it's fine because I've seen it happen. If you just make the decisions to like cut your losses and be the one who's like, everybody has enough glass jars, I'm just going to recycle these, right? Or these clothes are really just trash, I'm just going to trash them. Or I bought way too many toys and I'm missing the pieces, and nobody wants to spend time or energy like trying to fix these broken toys because everybody has enough of their own broken toys, right? And sometimes you just have to be the one to put it in the landfill. And that's what we ended up doing because we held garage sales. I put stuff up for sale. I was taking it to the donation center, and we were in a small town in Alaska, and they stopped taking donations from me. If you don't want your stuff. And I had to throw it. I had to take it to the landfill. Right. And that was painful. That was so painful because I was like, I'm the most wasteful person in the world. But the waste didn't happen when I took it to the landfill. The waste happened when I consumed things that I didn't have space for, I didn't need. I bought it just because it was a good deal. And yes, I took a whole lot of stuff to the dump because I had to. I didn't have, like, nobody would take it. People wouldn't even take it for free. But I will spend the next of my 75 years alive, because I'm going to live to be 106, not being wasteful and actually being a part of the solution. Right. So I think you really have to think about the long-term effects. And the thing is, when you're living in clutter and you're surrounded by clutter, you'll never have true clarity on how much you actually consume. Right. Because you're surrounded by so much, and we forget what we have and we hide it in closets. And so we think we have room for more. So we're like, why wouldn't I just get some more? Right. It's a good deal, or it's a BOGO, and you only need one. You have to get two if you only need one.
Right.
Because money isn't the only thing that you save, right? You're saving resources. You're only consuming what you need. And we just have such a skewed perspective on how much we have and how much we need because we're surrounded by so much all the time, right?
Yeah.
That got long.
No, but it's so useful because I feel like this is something that people come up against every time they go through this process. So, and for those of you who are listening and watching, I got to tell you, I did just a couple of challenges with Krista like several years ago, and it changed my life. Right. We have moved a few times since, and like, I'm ready to go through a big challenge again. Right. Just to pare down even more. I love the space that we're in because I had to get rid of like different storage spaces, combine everything, sort through it, did all of that, feel amazing that everything that we own is in this house, or it's in a tiny little like 4x4 shed off the house. And that's it. Yeah. Right. And it feels so good. So right now, like I look around my office and I definitely have like a lot of paper and stuff to declutter that has just been like pulling things out of the secret spots, right? Like I have a file cabinet, pull it out. What do I need? I only need things back, 7 years for tax purposes. What can I do with those? Scan them, save them, done, right? So going through all of these processes. So if you're watching and you're listening, go to motherhoodsimplified.com. Go look at what Krista has to offer. Join us in the group, Motherhood Simplified, the group. And just listen in because there's always something that you will take away. So Krista, thank you for taking the time today. Huge shout out to Arielle Devito, Be More Than Fit, who also shared a little bit about what it means to declutter and the impact on your health as well. So I'm just grateful for surrounding myself with women like you, Krista, who are making the world a better place. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I feel the same way.
All right. You have a beautiful day, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Yes, we will.